Yeah, I misunderstood what you said. At first, I was putting up the act because I thought you said Mercy Killer, but now I realize no, that's a completely different thing. Which I also often get confused for some reason.
Oh.
But yeah, I'll ask if he's got a spare bow that we can use. I'll tell him I'm in depth.
Make a wisdom check.
Yeah. Then it works out to like a 14.
14? Mm-hmm. Making an appeal to this guy's politics, as in, oh, I'm an in-depth, I'm here to help. Probably not a good idea. Because he's a Doomguard, your guess is he's just here to kill as many people as he can. That's okay. He heard that there was some shit going down, and this is a great excuse to put arrows in as many people as possible.
Gotcha. How many arrows is he personally holding?
Right now, just the one in his bow that's drawn back. He's got a quiver on his back and several more on top of the roof. He's got a whole day planned.
Okay. All right.
But glancing around, he doesn't seem to have a secondary bow. He is wearing his Doomguard sword at his side, though.
Yeah. Then I'll make like I'm here to help him. Like, okay. You got a second bow? I can help shoot down some of these. Whoever's really.
Make a charisma persuasion check.
Okay, that's a 28.
28?
Mm-hmm.
He relaxes his grip on the bow, having decided to not shoot you. He says he doesn't have a second bow, but he'll let you stay and watch if you let him take you home and tie you up later.
I'll tell him he's got a deal.
Very good. Now he's not going to shoot you. I guess I should have asked, like how nice does Riot's Seeming's boobs look, and then perhaps give advantage on that roll. But
I think it goes without saying.
So Riot, you will have limited ability to direct this Doomguard on your turns. Then,
okay.
Mahogany. It has started to come to blows in the streets beneath you. Indepts and Harmonium clashing against each other. The difference between these two forces, the Harmonium are very well organized and trained, but the Indepts are defending their home. And to your eyes, at least these first few blows, it looks very evenly matched. For every well-seasoned hardhead, there's an Indept who just ran out there with a saucepan. And for every, battle-hardened, in-depth barrier with a giant club, you see like a hardhead this is their first day of action and they're kind of peeing themselves a little. And your wall of stone is still in place, and no arrows have flown through it or over it since you put it up.
Well, that's fine. It's about to disappear. I mostly just wanted to prevent the initial blows from coming from the in-depths.
Okay.
So here's what happens. How many rats did we decide were in a swarm?
Wait, how many rats did we how many hit points does a rat swarm have?
24.
There you go. That's how many rats are in a swarm.
Okay, give me 1 second.
What?
I summoned 576 rats.
What are you... So, the plan is to just bail on this whole Harmonium thing. Fuck this. I want to open the rat hole 570 times.
Right.
Okay.
576. And what I do is anywhere that it looks like it's even possible to prevent more fighting from breaking out on the part of like any dudes who are running up towards a group of hardheads, I instead outrace them with 576 rats and put the rats under all of the hard head armor until they start taking it off.
So you want the rats to try to like scurry up into their armor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, what I'm trying to do here is disarm the situation.
I see what you did there. What I need you to do is make a Constitution saving throw for each of those individual rats, and let me know when you're done. Okay.
Okay, let me just 1 second. Rick, can you like give me a couple more of these?
No, you brought this upon yourself.
How many were there?
So you want
It's
these
fine,
rats?
I'll just use D6s for some of these.
Okay. So you want rats scurrying mostly down in the streets amongst the hardheads where they're starting to approach?
Yeah, basically like anywhere that it looks like a bunch of in-depths are about to start some shit.
Okay.
I want the in-depths to go, oh no, I don't have to go start some shit. They have all the rats. And I don't really want to be a part of that.
Okay. Nath, what's going on with you?
Oh, importantly, the rats are not biting.
You're not instructing the bite.
They
Okay.
would die.
Nath is going to stay about 100 feet away from the fight, and he's going to drop a second-level sleep spell in the middle of the in-depths. I had some D8s out.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and roll all those D8s that you get.
How many D8s do you get?
I think it's 7. Let me double check. Yep.
It's a lot of D20s on my board right now.
Not enough, though.
No, not nearly enough.
25 hit points.
Okay. And you do see several of the in-depths drop to sleep on the ground. More than you were expecting, actually, because it targets the lowest and moves up, as I recall.
No, I was expecting it to drop a bunch of them.
Yeah. So a lot of just the commoners, the merchants who are defending their stalls with saucepans, most of the seasoned in-depth fighters obviously shrug it off.
And I'm just going to do another one of those, too. There's still a bunch of people fighting.
Yeah, go ahead and roll it again.
It's 23 hit points.
Okay, and another similar number of them. What's
And with that,
what's the
I'll,
goal here? You're just trying to like give
Just trying to make it so that there's the least number of innocent. Like they have no, the hardheads have orders to not, be really violent. So they got a minute there. They can just tie these people up or go on their way.
Okay.
And with that, I will move my illusionary double this way, and move myself this way, and see if I can blunt another patrol on my next return like that.
Okay.
And I'll occasionally switch back and forth vision with the illusionary double just so I have a better sense of what's going on everywhere.
Gotcha. Arrows start raining down in force from the rooftops down into the harmonium. Riot, you're still in that area, and so's Mahogany. Just looking down, you start seeing several of the hardheads take arrows and drop. Especially several of them who are preoccupied with 570 rats.
Or invisible, or no armor. Or invisible armor.
Nath, watching from your position, you see the large man with two broadswords. He is carving fairly deeply into one particular rank of harmonium. It looks like he's felled two of them, but he's also sustained considerable injuries in doing so. While your double is throwing daggers in that direction. How many daggers per round can a level 10 wizard throw in NetHack?
Just 2. Oh, in NetHack, I don't know.
3.
3.
Yeah, they can get up to expert with daggers.
Nice. Alright, Liberation. Roll some more percentile dice.
Okie dokie. I don't know if it's a 77 or a 77.
You throw the orange one out. It's just a 7.
Okay.
All right. So you managed to make considerable more headway down into the alleys, and you're commanding your men to kind of split up and reconverge as these streets kind of chaotically split and meet back up.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you order them otherwise, your men have the impression that you're wanting them to sweep the streets looking for in-depth resistance to root out. Unless you can tell them otherwise. So as they're going through these alleys, I mean, they're going to be kicking over boxes, busting open doors, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Back with that wall of force.
Yeah.
I want to direct one of the. One of the sergeants. One of them to handle the interrogation of those that got boxed in.
So he and his 12 men are staying behind to handle that interrogation?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got... What about his wizard? Is he staying behind as well?
Yeah, to help keep everything corralled while that wall of force is still
And
up.
they're definitely not happy about the orders. That sounds very counterintuitive to them, but they don't question you.
Okay.
So you're marching with 2 forces. So you reconverge where you know to be a couple of blocks away from Mahogany's shop on the kind of border between the Bazaar and the Guildhall ward.
Mm-hmm.
The magical protections that Nath placed on Mahogany's shop, do those have any like outward appearance to them? Or is it just straight up magical stuff?
Destil?
No, it's just magic.
Okay, so it's not hidden from view or anything silly like that?
No, it's not guards and wards or anything.
Sir, this shop is lighting up like a Christmas tree.
Who would do that, though?
Okay. As you're sweeping down from the north, one of your men comes running up from the south. One of the 2 or 3 guys who was asked to scout ahead to make sure your path is safe up. And he runs directly past his commander, directly to you.
Okay.
And he looks like he's seen the fucking devil. And he's stammering out. He says,
What?
Sir, there's someone ahead who is asked to have words with you.
Me?
And he looks terrified. She insists to speak to you alone. No one may march with you.
All right. I'll be back in a moment.
What do you tell the rest of your men when you start marching off?
I'll tell them, stand by right here. Keep looking for people to question about the companions about Liberation and his companions. Keep looking for them.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go and find this person.
I will amend that, Brick. It would look weird if you were to shine a light inside. It would look unnaturally dark.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that
otherwise, it just looks like the lights are off.
Every week when I sit down and put all my D&D stuff on the table that I need, I always forget to put the one book that I actually do need. So I have to stand up and walk over here into the
Go into the tunnel.
and get my other book that I need. Hey.
I can't believe he's gone into the channel.
All right, bear with me just 1 second.
No, I can't, but Genasi.
Okay. Liberation.
Hey.
As you head off in the direction that your scout informed you of, you realize that the few buildings above you all have snipers on them. Men and women with bows and arrows, and all of them emblazoned with the sigil of the Transcendent Order. When you come out on the road nearest to Mahogany's shop, the main road, so this like Dust Gate Road here, I suppose,
Yeah.
you see Factal Rees standing there with no small amount of ciphers. Probably 20 or 30 of them. And they're armed in a very haphazard way. They don't have a standing militia. They don't have standard issue anything. But Reese is standing there. And has Liberation ever interacted with Reese? I forget.
Liberation has not interacted with. He knows of Reese though,
Okay.
based on what he's heard from Serenity and Mahogany. So he's not quite like.
Were you present when this factions gave their speech denouncing the new law order? Because she was there for that.
When
Yeah,
Reese
Elsie
came-
Clone was
Elsie
there.
Clone was there for that.
Yeah, so
That's true, yeah.
Like vague, haphazard memories of that event. It might have happened to someone else. Who knows? I'm not really sure. It's all in my head and it's all mixed up.
So she's armed today with a copper staff that looks very, very heavy. So I'll just ask straight out, what does Liberation know about Reese, if anything? I mean, obviously you know she's the Factal, but...
That and she's pretty much an enigma, but
Okay.
Liberation's feeling a little bit swaggerish right now, so he tucks his hands into his pockets and just kind of saunters up and says, "Factal Reese."
She points the head of her copper staff at you and says, "You will order your men to disperse, or I will force you to."
We've got no trouble with the Transcendent Order.
And she just glares at you with her staff leveled.
What do you know about Reese's alignment?
No idea.
Does Mahogany even know Reese's alignment?
Oh yeah, Mahogany knows because that's one of the reasons he likes the ciphers so much.
So you tell her we have no trouble with the Transcendent Order?
Yes.
She doesn't say anything, but you hear one of her men on the roof kind of jovially start counting backwards from 5.
Liberation looks up toward that guy and just grins.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay, this will be hilarious.
That guy's gonna get kicked out of the ciphers. No cipher would count back from 5.
20.
20. For a moment, you feel somebody poking around in your brain, and you shake them out.
Do I know who it was?
You do. It's one of the men standing next to Reese. Tall, gray-skinned, with very bland features. Like, if you were to try to describe this man that you saw to somebody else, you wouldn't be able to.
Lock eyes with that guy and say, "Hey, find anything interesting up there?"
And he just says, more to Reese than to you, only that I don't think he's a hardhead. Let's pull it over to the harmonium now and see how many of these indepts I can slaughter. Oh, the first thing that happens is the places where the rats are most concentrated. You see, with the wizards in those groups, those 4 or 5 groups where the rats are most concentrated, land on the ground, and the rats in a sphere around them just vanish as they cast their anti-magic fields. I will let you Riot. Mm-hmm. At this point, if you want, I will let you try to counterspell one of those anti-magic field spells going off, since you're on a rooftop overlooking where all these rats are.
Yeah.
If you
I don't have counterspell.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Also, I'm not super worried about anti-magic field because I looked up the rules and it sucks.
It's particular, yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's doing. It just creates a field around the wizards where magic is suppressed. And in those areas, the rats vanish.
Destil, would you call them casting a shit ton of anti-magic fields to get rid of some of my rats card advantage?
The Liberation's the guy with counterspell.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're nowhere near that situation.
Yeah.
The Harmonium are having no difficulty advancing into the Bazaar. I mean, the Indepts are giving as good as they get, but they just don't have the rank and file. They don't have the order to actually hold them back. So the Harmonium are on the move and pushing forward into the Bazaar. And you do see, here and there, a couple of them break ranks to bring violence to just some of these merchants who are just terrified at their own stalls. Not many. Maybe 1 in 50, 1 in 60. It's a very small percentage of them. But some of these hardheads are just reveling in this opportunity. Carts are being overturned, fish are spilled out onto the cobbles. And the rain begins coming down even harder.
Is there a cabbage merchant?
Burgert, is this something I'm seeing?
Yes, from your position.
I start filling my sensory stone with the sensation of hardheads attacking merchants with no weapons.
So that's what you're focusing on?
Is it
I don't-
concentration?
I don't
No,
think.
but
Yeah, that's not how sensory stone works. Because otherwise, like, there would be no sensory stones. You can later on. You can after everything is over. You can go to your sensory stone and like ladle out. At least this is my understanding of it.
there's different kinds of sensory stones that work in different ways.
Okay.
My
But
understanding
that's
is
what I'm focusing on.
that's what you're focusing on. Okay, that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine. But like I said, it's a very small number of them. Most of them are staying in rank. Most of them are only engaging in with the Indepts that are clashing against them.
That's a shame that I'm not paying attention to that.
The sleeping Indepts on the ground, the ones that Nath put down, they're mostly being ignored. They're not even being detained or tied up. The Harmonium are looking to take control of the area as quickly as possible. It's going to bring us to Ms. Riot up on the roof.
The weather's pretty bad right now.
It's pretty bad.
You think it could get worse?
Maybe if only there was somebody there with this like a control weather ability, it could
Yeah,
possibly get
that's
worse.
what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm gonna cast control weather.
Are you doing this with your trident that looks like a pike?
Yep.
All right. What's the haps?
I'm gonna try and turn this rain into a blizzard.
To a blizzard. Are you with control weather? Are you able to create weather that can't naturally occur in that area?
I don't see why
You
not.
change the current weather conditions, which are determined by the GM, etc., which you
Yeah,
said
yeah.
it's pouring down rain.
Mhm.
You change. It doesn't say anything about that.
Okay.
It just says you change the weather conditions.
You can change precipitation, temperature, and wind. It takes a D4 times 10 minutes for the new conditions to fully take effect. And
Yeah.
then once they do, you can change them again. So go ahead and roll a D4.
Okay. Gotta pull one out here. Worst result. 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Okay. Right now, it's fair to say that the precipitation is at like a stage 4. It's raining.
Mhm.
And you can alter that up to a stage 5 blizzard if you want.
Yeah.
How's the temperature is probably cold at the moment. Do you want that to go anywhere?
I would like the winds to be blowing against the hardheads.
Okay. There's really no wind in the Sigil. So you're going to have...
Yeah.
Right now, we'll call it a stage 1. How high do you want it to get?
For the wind?
Yeah.
Let's see. That's not really the important part. I think the important part is just like making it hard for the hardheads to move around.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I'll leave the wind alone.
And the Doomguard
Well-
Archer...
Yeah.
The Doomguard Archer next to you begins loosing shafts down in the crowd. And following his arrows, he is just firing indiscriminately. He doesn't care what he hits.
Okay. Once this spell is cast, then because I don't. Is this a concentration spell?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
I have to concentrate.
Is this one of the ones with the 4 concentrates on it for you, though? Is
I
that
don't
how
know if
intelligent
that's-
items work?
It's not intelligent. Well, it is an intelligent item. It just hasn't done anything to me in a long time, so I tend to forget that.
See, I thought that was the main advantage of having an intelligent thing, is it could do the concentration for one spell.
I'll leave that to Brickard, I guess.
Sure, that sounds all right.
Okay. since we're kind of like you've got Liberation on the march, the other thing I want to do, if you let me do one other thing on this turn,
Sure.
is cast Polymorph on this Doomguard with archer.
Oh, okay. What are you going to polymorph him into?
A rat, and then throw him over the side.
He fails his save.
Okay, well then that happens.
So he suddenly gets polymorphed into a rat, and his bow clatters to the roof, and you kick his furry ass off the roof.
Oh,
and he hits the
God.
ground and immediately turns back into a Doomguard because he doesn't survive the fall.
Right.
And he's now laying in the street, and the rain is pouring on him, and the rain's getting colder and starting to turn into snow. And the Doomguard are marching down there, and he immediately... Well, not the Doomguard, the Harmonium down there immediately start laying into him. And several of them cast their eyes up in your direction.
Alright. I'll try and... I'll make like I pushed him over for them.
Okay. I mean, you're wearing your hat, and...
Yeah.
So, let's come around to Mahogany.
Alright. I'm gonna start trying to bring people to the wounded. Basically, what I'm gonna do is use some of my still preposterous number of rats
Okay.
to get the attention of people who look like they're non-combatants,
Okay.
and start directing them to wounded that they can get out of harm's way.
Make a charisma persuasion at disadvantage.
Are you saying rats don't have good charisma?
I mean, you're trying to convey a lot of information using the most hated animal native to Sigil.
You're saying I should have been using it on tieflings.
At least they're not
Yeah.
cranium rats. It could be worse.
Yeah. That's an 8.
An 8? Okay. For some reason, the people seem to not want to trust a lot of these rats.
Yeah. That's fine.
But
I'm
glancing
fine with
around,
keeping doing what I'm doing with the majority of them.
there doesn't seem to be a lot of actual wounded when you're looking around people who have sustained injuries on either side. Both of these sides are fighting to kill. The Indepts, especially, are making sure that they drop as many of these hardheads as permanently as possible. Do you have another idea for rallying non-combatants? Or was that it?
I mean, that's... I mostly... Most of my ideas are for when this starts to go real bad.
Okay. It's getting there, because the Harmonium are about to push in even further.
So when the Harmonium start to push in,
Mhm.
I'm gonna drop the rats and start creating walls of stone in their path at the borders of the Bazaar, so that if they dispel them, it's very clear that they're dispelling these so that they can push their way in.
Okay. So you're putting up a couple of wall of stones with the knowledge that they will be dispelled.
Right, but when they dispel them, they're only dispelling them so that they can invade the marketplace.
Gotcha. Oddly enough, it doesn't look like Kelian's doing anything to help this situation.
I know.
He was a Doomguard that just got kicked off of a roof.
Speaking of severe injuries, Nath, from your position, you're seeing injuries on both sides being so close to the front. And your giant broadsword buddy is on his last limbs. If something's not done very quickly, he's going to hit the dirt.
I mean, I'm just moving down. So I stopped a bunch of stuff like over here, right?
What you've done is you put a bunch of Indepts to sleep on
Yep.
the ground. The hardheads seem to just moving past them. They're not paying them any mind. They're not anything to worry about.
Is there basically my idea was to move to another street and do it again.
Do it again? Okay.
Just try and get more non-combatants out of the way.
Go ahead and roll 2 more sleep spells worth of D8s.
I'm only using first level slots this time.
However many D8s you need to make, man.
First one will do 32,
Okay. And a bunch of Indepts drop.
and the second one I'll get 24.
And so there's both a pro and a con effect to these sleep spells. Because on one hand, the Harmonium are not attacking the ones that are downed. That's not entirely true. Obviously, there's going to be a bad seed here, and there's like, oh, this is easy pickings, and see a throat slit or whatever.
Oh, as soon as I see that, I'm going to Magic Missile the guy.
Magic Missile that guy? Okay, roll damage on that Magic Missile. Because that kind of stuff is absolutely happening right now.
What's the first level Magic Missile hit for? Each one, 3 missiles? Yep. Nine damage.
9 damage. And firing missiles at that guy, I mean, you take him totally by surprise, and he spins around in your direction and sees you there, and he just has murderous... Oh, that's right, you're invisible, so he doesn't see shit. Probably. He looks in your general direction, spins around, and starts shouting out up to the skies. Says, "Oi! I think there's one over there!" Pointing kind of off to your right, somewhat.
I'll just move in the other direction then.
Okay. And then he begins moving in that direction with his sword. You could tell he's trying to seek you out.
And that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to keep the casualties to a minimum on both sides.
The bad thing about having a lot of these in-depths to sleep is that the Harmonium advances in those areas are quicker. Okay, that's going to bring us to the in-depths, etc. Let's see if Broadsword Man dies. Riot, from your position on the rooftops, and I guess Mahogany will be able to see this too. He's kind of across the street on the other side. You see this Berserker Broadsword Man with one in each hand, and he fells one of the Hardhead captains, and the rank begins to break on that particular group. Alright, Liberation, you're still standing in the street. Reese has her staff leveled on you.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's counting backwards from 5.
Is it the same guy who was trying to poke on my brain?
No, this guy is counting from up on a roof somewhere. He looks like he's having way too much fun.
Do you have any weapons out?
He's got a bow trained on you.
Okay. All right. Stand there, still hands in the pockets. Wait for him to count down.
All right. You're going to have to make a saving throw, and you better roll really good.
Okay.
It's going to be a wisdom saving throw.
11.
11?
Yep.
11's not going to do it.
Oh, darn.
And you don't have any immunity to charm, do you?
I do. I can negate that on my next action. As a it's a monk class feature.
So some sort of magical energy runs the length of this staff, and you feel your mind kind of dissolve, and Reese's takes its place. And you hear her voice in your head. And her first... Oh, that's a monk class feature, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a monk class feature.
Yeah, never mind. This is going to go easier than I thought it would. So she orders you. She says, "I order you to not end this effect. Now march back to your men. Tell them to disperse."
Okay.
And she pulls the staff back up.
Son of a bitch.
Reese is a monk. She knows you could do that shit.
How did you know I was a monk, though?
She's a monk. She knows monks can do
She's
that.
Reese.
Yeah, she can tell by the way you move that you're going elephant with your bare
Damn it.
hands.
Reese is like,
Damn it.
I gave her 15 levels of monk, 15 levels of sorcerer, and 15 levels of Batman.
You know how like Mahogany sometimes says certain things that are like, oh, metagamey, whatever, and I try to pull that like once every month or so. She's doing that constantly.
Oh, so Reese is metagaming. Got it. Okay.
And then she turns to her.
Yep.
Then she turns to her other people. She points very quickly to several of the men on the roof, and then to a couple of the people at her left and right. Says, "Go with them. Anyone who defies that order dies." And the ciphers begin following you back to your groups.
Nice.
So, how often can you repeat that save? Each time you take damage, you can make a new saving throw.
Yep.
Okay.
I remember.
This is what, dominate?
Yeah, dominate
Yeah.
person. So, I mean, you do exactly that. You kind of don't have a choice. But how do you word it when you go back to your men? And these ciphers are following along with you. And they're armed with various implements, swords, spears, that kind of thing.
Transcendent order have this side of the street.
How do you word the order to disperse?
Regroup with the main contingent back on the other side of the bazaar.
That's not an order to disperse. That's an
No.
order to regroup.
Yeah. Mm.
So how do you word it? You can punch yourself in the face to take damage. And
But she didn't tell me to punch myself in the face to take damage.
that's true. She didn't.
Yeah.
That would be ending the effect.
Exactly. Yeah, she specifically told you not to punch yourself in the face.
See, I don't have to punch myself in the face, but she's told me not to end the effect. Okay, so what I'm going to say is... Our mission is complete. We can return to the barracks.
And they exchange glances and they're very confused. And one of the remaining commanders at this point challenges the order and says, that runs counter to the briefing we received. What do you know that we don't?
My orders come from higher up. I can't tell you any more than that.
And the commander turns around and says, men, belay that. This one's a traitor. He draws his sword. And as his sword comes out, so do all of the ciphers at your back.
Liberation Zero is coming from the plains.
And before we move on to the next turn, you hear Reese again in your head. Let my men do the fighting. Preserve yourself.
Got it.
And Mahogany, very predictably, these walls of stone start coming down. Some of them are just blinking out of existence because they're being dispelled. Some of them have 10-foot sphere holes bored through them as a wizard with an anti-magic field walks his men through. But they do. Almost all of them get dispelled that you put up.
Can you move an anti-magic field?
Yeah, it
It
stays
moves
on
with
you.
Moves with you, yeah.
It's, I think,
Okay.
a 10-foot sphere centered on you.
Yep.
So are any wizards still flying?
Several of them are, yes.
A
Any
wizard who's flying is, it's definitely not using anti-magic.
Right,
Yeah.
they have to be on the ground. But the way anti-magic field works is it doesn't cause the wall to get removed. It's suppressed inside of that particular sphere, and after they move
Right.
through it, it just regrows around them.
Yeah. So any wizard that crosses the line where those walls were
Mhm.
and is flying, I cast a spell magic on them.
Okay, I'll let you do that on your turn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was my turn.
No, it's Harmonium turn.
Oh, okay.
And they're beginning to push more and more into the center of the bazaar. At this point, more and more of the the merchants and whatnot are beginning to engage Harmonium. And the primary way the hardheads are dealing with them is maybe deal one blow, knock them to the ground, then restrain them with manacles, if need be. Very, very few deaths are happening at this stage. A lot of carts are being overturned. Things are being spilled into the road. Some minor destructive magic is going off. Some of the wizards are counterspelling like fireballs trying to be cast by these indepts. And it's starting to spill into the Bazaar proper. That's going to bring us to bare-ass Riot up on the roof.
Yeah. What's the largest group of Harmonium I can see from here?
Probably the largest group would be the one in the distance, the one where you caused all that confusion, because you hit several groups and managed to confuse things enough that they've kind of merged into one mass, that the commanders, one of which is naked, is desperately trying to get a handle on things. So that's probably 30-ish of them back where you were originally marching. So in a few more moments, they'll be up on the main line.
Okay.
That's probably the largest one.
I will hold my action until they get their stuff together and start coming in, and then I'm going to cast Confusion spell in the middle of them.
Okay. I'm going to make you roll that d10 for all 40 of these guys.
Sure.
Let me go ahead and get a saving throw here. And your DC is like crazy. It's like 19?
It's 19 at this point, yeah.
19.
4 of them each do one of them. Law of large numbers.
Okay, so pretty much all of them fail. That was a really bad roll. I mean, several of them will have succeeded just by statistics, but what's the range on Confusion?
It's a 10-foot radius, so
Okay.
20-foot diameter.
So that would probably get one entire Harmonium group plus a couple of stragglers back there.
Cool.
And what's the goal here? Just to keep them from marching, to get them bumping into each other?
Yeah, this is more grist for the eventual sensory stone. the hard heads attacking each other and like staring off into the distance and being generally humiliated and ineffective.
Okay. And there are a lot of shouts in that regard from indepts on the roofs. Are shouting it out. Well, look how disorganized they are. They didn't even show up in their armor. In the places where the wizards have moved on with their anti-magic fields, many of them are shaking off rats, emptying out their boots. Things are bad out here just behind the main line. Let's do one more round before we take our break for the day. So back up on the rooftop with Mahogany. So you said you're going to try to bring down some of these fly spells?
Yeah, only the ones when they cross into the marketplace, they fall.
Okay. At the immediate moment, you don't see any of those happening. The wizards are content to stay outside of the range of the main line. They have a good vantage point to see what's going on. You see some of them are using shield spells and things to deflect arrows coming from the rooftops. But they're staying considerably behind the main force. And it's easy to see why. Their spells have such crazy range, they don't have to be up in there. But you do see them all flying up ahead. This would be slightly in front of the naked rat hoedown.
Yeah.
But slightly behind
So
where
what's-
some of your wall of stones are coming down.
What kind of spells have they been casting?
To your eyes, it looks like mostly dispels, anti-magics, shields to protect themselves from arrows. Make a perception check.
Okay. That's a 22.
And forgive me, I've got to look at something in the PHB. 'Cause I'm not going to tell you the name of a spell that's not on your spell list.
I'm sorry, it's a 23.
Why would I do that? Why would I do
It's
anything?
23, I get the name of a spell that's not on my spell list.
No, it doesn't.
Look at how...
Not on a perception check. Maybe on an Arcana check, but I won't let you roll that unless you're actually trained in Arcana. So in the main strategy of these wizards, when they're actually targeting the in-depths, it seems that when they target an in-depth group, one of two things happen. Either they just drop a huge, virtually opaque fog cloud, so that those in-depths are mostly blinded and ineffective, or they're targeting a group, and for some reason those groups, when they hit them, are dropping their weapons and then sitting docile on the ground. Once in a while, you see them target a particularly dangerous individual, and that individual rises off the ground about 1 foot and becomes frozen in place and translucent with this just pained expression on their face.
So you know how you said that there's always one bad apple?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a bad apple wizard?
And by bad apple, you mean like
Someone who's damaging people.
Very notably not.
Okay.
You have not seen any fireballs, lightning bolts, nothing that could cause harm or damage. Mostly it looks like they're there for containment and protection against enemy spellcasters.
Alright, in that case, what I'm going to do is start, if none of them move in, like, that's still my plan, if some of them fly in.
Right.
But, if the people who are sitting on the ground doing nothing, I'm going to start, dispelling them.
Dispelling them so they just drop out of the sky?
No, dispelling the, whatever, I don't know what the fuck is causing the effect for those people to sit on the ground.
Okay.
But I don't want it to be there anymore.
But just drop an area dispel on the center of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you go ahead and make 2 of those rolls now. This is going to be your spellcasting ability check.
Mm-hmm. That's, what 10 plus the spell's level?
Yes. You're up against level 6.
That's 2 successes.
2 successes? Okay, then you managed to end the effect on 2 of these groups. And this, you see, causes some distress amongst the Harmonium closest to those groups. Some of them look back up at their wizards like, what the fuck is going on? Nath, what's good with you?
At this point, I'm going to continue shadowing the main group moving in.
Okay.
And the only thing I'm going to do is when they come, not, putting up a fight and they're going to punch them in the lights, knock them out or down or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to try and stay close to that person and use my arcane ward to absorb the hit points, keep them from actually killing anyone.
So your goal is to protect the civilian population at this point?
Yep.
Okay.
I've got 31 hit points worth of reactions in the arcane ward before I need to start recharging it.
All right, don't worry about tracking that just yet.
Okay.
Well, actually,
the broken thing is you can recharge it with rituals, so if I have 10 minutes...
You probably won't have 10 minutes at any point.
Yeah, no, I won't, but...
Go ahead and roll 2d10 and subtract that from your arcane ward pool.
Okay.
Because I think eventually we are going to have to zoom in and do an actual combat here. That's just to...
Why is there... What the hell happened to this bag? That's where my d8s went. Who did that?
What?
I had pulled out the d8s I needed for the sleep spell ahead of time, and someone dropped them in the d10 bag. There we go.
That's funny.
Okay.
Oh, that's not a good roll.
Yeah, it is.
So just go ahead and knock off 14 points from your arcane ward.
Yep.
And that keeps all the civilians you see alive. And in some cases, I mean, the reaction from the Harmonium seems to be kind of indifferent. And in some cases, it seems to be kind of relieved that, oh, good, I didn't kill that guy. That was, whew. And in some cases, the guy goes in for a second strike. What do you do when that happens?
Frostbite him.
Frostbite him?
Yep.
You'll get caught up in the...
Wait, what? What are you singing? Why?
Don't worry about it.
Oh,
Only
it's a
90s
cantrip,
kids.
okay. Alright, so you managed to keep any civilians from being unduly murdered on your watch.
Only duly murdered.
And then at this point, everybody hears a massive explosion from somewhere in the center of the bazaar.
Are we gonna take a break?
We will. It's an explosion mostly in sound. Like, mostly it's a shockwave. You hear it first, and then a moment later, some kind of blast or wave sweeps over you. Everybody but Nath, who has spell effects up, except Nath. Mahogany does, Riot does. Oh, and Liberation does, technically.
Yeah.
Those effects drop. Nath, yours do not. Liberation, the dominate on you ends.
Okay.
The walls of stone are gone. The rats are gone. The sleep spells are still in place.
What's going on with the weather?
With the weather, it's shifting back to rain.
Okay.
Basically, anything cast by anybody who's not a harmonium ends immediately. And you see smoke billowing up from the direction where you heard the sound. And many of the hardhead groups begin moving in that direction. And that was an excellent time to take a break.